Hey, good morning, church family. Once again, it's always my privilege to bring you our Monday daily encouragement. And I love just kind of getting to start off the week for you. So, the pastors and myself got together after yesterday's message that Pastor Joe preached. And man, it was so good. And if you were with us at the drive-in, man, it was great to see you. It was just good to be back on our campus to have church. And so when we got together, we wanted to do something in these daily encouragement. So every week, there's going to be some sort of a thematic with purpose. Not that the other ones didn't have any purpose, but we want to just give you something. And especially after Sunday's message again, what does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus? What does it look like for you and me to be a follower of Jesus Christ? And then when we read these words in his word, what does it mean? How do we live it out? What does that look like? And I'm going to read a passage that I read early on as a believer. And it's actually one of the passages that God used on me as I was preparing to go into ministry and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and my calling. So the question I have is, what does a disciple look like? What does a follower of Jesus look like? So I'm going to be reading out of Luke chapter 9, verse 23 to 27. And in these verses, if I can give you a big idea, is this: a disciple denies himself and takes up his cross. That's what a disciple of Jesus looks like. He denies himself and picks up his cross. And out of Luke chapter 9, verse 23 through 27, says this: Then he said to the crowd, "If any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily, and follow me. If you try to hang onto your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but are yourself lost or destroyed? If anyone is ashamed of me and my message, the Son of Man will be ashamed of that person when he returns in his glory and in the glory of the Father and the holy angels. I tell you the truth. Some standing here right now will not die before they see the kingdom of God." Wow, there's a lot there. And I remember reading that as a young believer. Gotta have my coffee. I remember reading that as a believer and saying to myself, what does that mean? What does that even mean, to deny yourself and to pick up your cross? Do I physically have to go get a cross and carry it around? Well, no, you don't. But what does it look like for me to daily give up and carry my cross, give up myself and pick up my cross? See, a disciple's life was not a glamorous life or a lucrative one at that. It was full of hardship. And this is why, one of the reasons why I think the prosperity gospel is so wrong, but different subject. So again, it was full of hardship and danger. Make no mistake, if you were of the highest, if your highest value and comfort, peace, and safety, it says you will lose it. You will lose your life. But if you lose your life for Jesus' sake, you will save it. Wow. Okay, so what does it mean to lose your life? And how did this impact me as I began to see, like I shared in my testimony, and I don't think I shared this part of my testimony, but prior to me becoming a pastor, I was in the business world. I went to the University of Phoenix, got my degree in business management. I love business. I loved the money that I was making. I loved that career that I had chosen. I loved it. I love dealing with operations. I love dealing with sales, numbers, all those kind of different things. But then I felt a hard burden on my life to help marriages and, man, being involved in different life groups and being a deacon and in different leadership roles. God just began to speak to me. But I didn't want to lose those comforts. I was in a great place, living comfortably, making a ton of money. Being a store manager for Home Depot, Staples, and even Best Buy in Circuit City, and I loved it. It was comfortable. My wife potentially was going to be able to stay home. And then I remember reading this verse and saying, "What does this mean?" And what it meant for me was that I couldn't always desire to live comfortably. That I had to desire more than that. That a desire had to had my desires had to change. See, there's another verse, and you guys have heard me talk about this, I'm sure, plenty of times. A psalm that says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will grant you the desires of your heart. See, we just like the last part of that verse. We like that He will grant the desires of the heart, but it says, delight yourself in the Lord. And in Matthew, it says, I'm trying to remember what it says. Now I forgot. I will grant you the desires of your heart. But before that, there's a piece of that verse that says, that we got to put Jesus first. That we have to be about our Father's business and about His kingdom. Okay, so let's bring it to right now. Let's bring all this to right now. What does this mean? And I want to, and as I was reading this, I was like, wow. I think in today's moment, if any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Take up your cross daily and follow me. If you try to hang to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but you lose yourself or are destroyed? What does that mean right now? As I was kind of reading through this last night and praying through it, I was convicted in a way when it comes to social media. We're about to enter a political season, and social media has been ugly lately. It's been really, really bad. And because you read all this stuff, and not only that, but the news of everything, that, man, you begin to get frustrated. You begin to not think when you post. And I started getting convicted because my heart has been just not in the right spot. When you read all this stuff and you it's almost like you begin bitter and anger. And you know what? Just got to knock that off. Going to put that on mute. Got to shut the noise off. And I got to focus on the things of God. And I got to be willing not to try and win the world over for my political stance or whatever social stance there's out there right now. But I got to be about my Father's business. I got to be more worried about people coming to know Jesus and growing in His faith and in His love and being more about their Father's business. And what I learned is that I can't be about my Father's business if I'm not willing to get into this. There is no way that we can stop sometimes the bitterness and some of the stuff that's going on in our heart if we're not spending time at the feet of the Master. We have to get into His Word. One of the things, and it's something that I constantly struggle. My phone normally sits right next to my bed. It's plugged in right there. And I use the excuse of, it's for my alarm, which is true. It is for an alarm purpose. But the minute my alarm goes off, I pick it up, I turn it off, and then right away, I open up Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I start looking through those feeds right away. And I already begin to feed my brain nonsense. Well, rather than picking up my phone for social media, it's why don't I pick up my phone? I get it. Some of you have your Bible on here. Pick up your phone and get into your word right away. Before your feet hit the ground, read a verse or two. It might not be your full devotional, but maybe, because, I would tell you this, is get into your word when you're at your best. If you're at your best in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the evening, that's when you get into it. Nowhere does it say it has to be in the AM, even though there's times where Jesus went early in the morning alone while everyone's still asleep, which is a great time for me. But maybe it's just one or two verses before my feet hit the ground. One or two verses before I hop in the shower and do all those things. I like to get into my word when I'm in my office, at work, at the church. But I'm committed to starting today, to before my feet hit the ground, to open up my phone app, to my Bible and reading 2 verses a day before my feet hit the ground, and then starting my routine. But denying yourself and picking up your cross, it's not something we just do once. It's something we do daily. Every day it's a struggle. And I compare this into marriage. If you're married and you're watching this, I always say this: marriage is about two things. It's about love. We know that, but it's about sacrifice and be selfless. Those two things right there is about sacrifice and selflessness. And Jesus is the ultimate picture of that. And me as a husband, I have to pick up my cross daily and put my desires and my wants aside and look at the better interests of my family, my wife, my kids, so on and so forth. But it's a constant battle to die to yourself every day and put that to death every day, and then pick up your cross and carry it. That cross of humility, humbleness, patience, love, picking that up before you even hit the car. Maybe you get in the car and that's your prayer every morning. God, help me to be humble. Help me to be show humility. Help me to show love. Help me to show patience. And let's do that, church family. Will you commit that with me this morning or this afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, that we will start with 2 verses a day. Don't matter where you start. 2 verses a day before your feet hit the ground. And then when you get in your car ready to go to work or wherever you're heading in the morning, is that you pray that prayer. God, help me to die to myself. Help me to pick up my cross. Help me to put on humility and humbleness and be patient and show love to those around me. Man, I think that could be a powerful, powerful time for us as a church and as an individual, more importantly, as a follower of Jesus Christ. So church family, as you dive into his word and you try to figure out what does it mean for you to die to yourself, what does it mean to you to pick up your cross? And verse 29 or 25 says, and what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but are yourself lost or destroyed? And it goes on, if anyone is ashamed of me and my message, the Son of Man will be ashamed of the person when he returns in his glory. Let's not be ashamed of Jesus Christ. Let's share the gospel with the world, with social media. Let's be about our Father's business. Let's not be about a political stance. Let's not be about about whatever social things going on, COVID-19 or whatever. Let's be about our Father's business. Let's care more about people coming to know Him than anything else. Because when people come to know Him and they begin to be about their Father's business, there begins to be a change in their heart, and anything else that we're trying to achieve will happen because people will come to know His love, His grace, and therefore there's a transformation of their heart. And I really believe that's where it starts. All the sin in the world can be resolved that easily if people came to know Jesus and began to transform their heart and allow Him to transform their heart. But we know this, that it ain't going to happen. Why? Because we live in a sinful, fallen world. And you and me are human beings. The only one that was sinless was Jesus Christ. And He was crucified for your sin and my sin. Let's be about our Father's business. Let's share the gospel with the entire world. That's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. To die to ourselves and pick up our cross daily. Church family, I hope you were encouraged this morning and challenged at the same time. Love you guys.